Angela Franco is president and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. Prior to joining the chamber, Ms. Franco was president and CEO of the DC Chamber of Commerce from 2020 to 2024. Her commitment to support and advocate for chamber members demonstrates passion and vision to grow the organization. Ms. Franco joined the DC Chamber of Commerce during civic unrest and the global pandemic and continues to move the organization forward by working with its executive team and board of directors. Franco creates programs and services that position the chamber as a valuable resource and leading advocate for business throughout DC. Ms. Franco is an experienced business leader who has strengthened and revitalized organizations, including the DC Health Benefit Exchange Authority and the Greater Washington Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which you should know we are a member of that, and all the Hispanics in the club are members of that as well through our membership. Before relocating to the US, Ms. Franco held management positions in Bogotá, Colombia. Franco has received many prestigious honors. Most recently, she was recognized with the 2022 and 2023 Washington Business Journal's Power 100 list. In addition, she is the board member at large for the United Way of the National Capital Area, a board member of the Cherry Blossom Festival, DC Policy Center and Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, and an appointee to the DC Workforce Investment Council by the DC Mayor. Ms. Franco is a graduate of Leadership Montgomery and Leadership Greater Washington. She holds a Master of Science degree in Finance and a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Business Administration. Without further ado, Angela Franco.
Thank you, Marilyn, and thank you all for having me. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be with you here. I have to update my bio, but I was part of the DC Workforce Investment Council here with the mayor until I was the CEO of the DC Chamber, and I stepped down from the Cherry Blossom, and that I'm now involved in Montgomery County. That is also a fascinating place. So I'm very happy to be here. What I thought we would talk about today is the role of chambers of commerce and how that's evolving. I'm part of the board of the Association of Chambers of Commerce Executives. That is an incredible organization because it works with chambers of commerce across the United States, helping us all redirect our programming, understanding what goes on in our communities, what's trending, and it gives a lot of tools of education. And we just went to the convention. They shared incredible information. And as Sterling and I were talking, I said, why don't we talk about how we as chambers of commerce have had to reinvent ourselves to serve the communities we're in, to serve the diversity we're living, and to serve some of the political challenges that we all across the country are experiencing. So I'm going to share a couple of statistics that were shared with us that I thought they were critical to understand that still the business community is a trusted voice, and membership organizations like this, when chambers of commerce, are a trusted voice within our community. So a couple of results from the Edelman Trust Barometer is a global report, is done in all countries in the world. So basically, businesses remain as a trusted institution. So it means that the business community, we still trust the business community. We want to work with the business community. And we compared that with nonprofits, government, and others. Here, you see that nonprofit organizations are slightly more trustable than businesses, but we're very, very close. And we are considered very ethical, and we are very competent. So the Association of Chambers of Commerce partnered with the Harris Poll, and many of us participated in some of the data that you're going to see now. I was very active in the committee that came up, that gave feedback and worked with the different chambers across the United States. So what understanding perceptions about local chambers of commerce. In the research we did, as you see some of the data, we interviewed about 2,100 people. So most US adults agree that local chambers of commerce are a trusted resource and a partner for business. it came out at 81%. That means that we as chambers of commerce, and I talk about membership organizations because like organizations like these ones are part of these network. We are a trusted resource and a partner for business. So we have a great opportunity to continue to support our local communities and our business community and our businesses. Most US adults who are familiar with their local chamber of commerce are satisfied with their local chamber, and the answer is yes. The most important thing is to get involved. I always say that there's two ways in an organization. One, the organization has to do what it needs to do to provide value to members and to provide opportunities to network, but also members have to participate and make sure that they're part of the organization. So this is the Horizon Initiative that I was talking about. We worked with, there's over, 400 chambers across the United States that we work with, from large towns to small towns. They're all made, for me, has been fascinating to learn how many chambers of commerce are organized. We in these regions, like the DC metro region and some of the other larger areas, we have the luxury of having a chamber of commerce. We have the luxury of having an economic development office. We have the luxury of having organizations that serve the hotels and the restaurants, but there are many, many places in the United States where chambers of commerce are the cultural arm, the economic development arm, the tourism arm. So it's interesting to see the different perspectives across the United States, and we're gonna see some of the common denominators that we have seen across the country. Some of the questions that we ask people about the local chambers, and what we're seeing is that people are expecting organizations to get involved in issues that go farther than business. So we're seeing in this region, for example, early childhood education, or housing, or education at large. Food, there's a big challenge with food and hunger across the country. So chambers of commerce are getting involved in issues that go beyond business, and I think is something that we should all be concerned about. So there's, we're gonna go through some timely issues. So what's happening that is affecting our chambers of commerce? The first one is the political and social fragmentation, and I'm sure you have felt it as well, but we're feeling this, I was talking to, could you remind me your name? Brian. I was talking to Brian about that, but the political and social fragmentation, and it's basically the political parties are going very much to extremes, and we feel that way. So to be polite, but to be politically correct, but we are feeling it at chambers as well, and sometimes it's very difficult to have conversations or to present a point of view, and we are seeing it across the country. I saw it here in the district. I'm seeing it in Montgomery County, and that's why we are taking a more active approach in saying, okay, let's work with the community at large and see what solutions we can find. One of the other things that is changing a lot is technology, and that includes news. So a lot of people are getting news from different sources, and there's not a unified messaging. Some chambers across the United States are building websites where they put news from different sources, and they're becoming like that provider of news. And with the AI, there's so much you can do and so much content you can create that is changing a lot the work we're doing. We're doing business, locally, and a lot of companies are thinking about how they get involved in AI, and it's important there to look at what kind of platform you're using so that it's reliable, because what AI does is basically puts a lot of information together. And so it is important that you as an organization know what kind of platform you're gonna use. Changing business model, that's very important. And as I was hearing, talking about membership, we are changing our business model. Membership dues they're going down the hill, and that's the trend in all chambers of commerce across the United States. So we're looking into what other sources of revenue we can bring, and what kind of value we bring so that we can bring that monetary support. When we look at chambers across the United States, the ones that have a foundation attached to it are doing much better, and developing programs through those foundations. In the case of the Montgomery County Chamber, we have a foundation that has a program that is called the Veteran Institute for Procurement. It's a national program that trains veterans to do business with the federal government. We started that program 20 years ago. We have graduated 3,000 companies, and that has brought a lot of leverage to the organization and to our county as well. If you knew that a local business was a member of the local Chamber of Commerce, would it make you more or less likely to do each of the following? The first one, purchase. It says yes, so 64 towards 50. Recommend the business to someone else. Yes, 63 towards 48. And pursue a job or career at that business. Yes. So we still have that opportunity of the credibility and trust within chambers of commerce. This is what we're talking about, revenue trends. So what we're seeing across the United States is that the income for membership dues is much lower and is going down the hill. So basically, we need to look for other sources of income. Has your organization considered a merger or partnership in recent years? Yes. I mean, there's lots of chambers of commerce and lots of membership organizations. Every single town has one. In Montgomery County, just us, there are like 15 chambers of commerce. So we're, is for government relations purposes and to support businesses, it comes challenging. So we are really working into having one voice that I think is the first step in being strategic with government relations and working with government and any changes we want to do. Changing expectations. So, in changing expectations is always challenging for me when we get questions about transportation or when we get questions about budget and when we get questions about government, because it is a process and requires all of us to work. So sometimes when they tell me, what is the chamber doing? Yes, we have a committee that works in government relations. We have a lot of business owners, corporations that are involved, but if we want to see change, we all are going to have to get involved, sit at the table and be part of the solution. And our elected officials, in many cases, they're great, they have the best intentions, but not necessarily know the answers or know which way to go. And that's why we as the business community or, people that live in that specific place play a very important role. So many US adults feel that their local chamber has at least some impact in a variety of aspects. So that's what we're talking about. What is the expectation that people have from organizations? So what is the role that we think a chamber of commerce plays or an organization plays? So they believe creating a network for business owners, growing a business locally, growing the local economy, and addressing challenges with their community. So basically, those are the expectations that people are having of chambers of commerce. Inclusive economic growth, this is key, and I speak for myself as well. That is, are we including everybody? Are we calling everybody at the table? Even our own companies in our own circles? Because that is so important to have as many voices as we can at the table and not leave people behind. The economic mobility, this applies more to the rural areas, but is how we are including people into the economy, giving them training, helping them find a job, helping them find a company. When we're here in the metro region or, in the metro region in North Carolina, we have much more access to education, to opening a company, to training, to universities, but that is not happening across the country, and that's not happening across many chambers of commerce. I don't know, many of you are business owners, but I hear about talent development all the time. Is I don't find people, or they're not prepared, or, a lot of challenges. And there's a lot of transition happening. So people are not staying in the jobs as long as it was before. So this shows you the average job has seen this percent, so 32%, the average job has seen this percentage of its required skills shift in the last 3 years. For some roles, that number climbs up as high as 75%. So we're seeing a lot of rotation in personnel. I don't know if you're seeing in your businesses, but we're seeing it here a lot, especially in these areas. The soft skills. Soft skills is something that I hear all the time from our employers, and is being on time, being polite, working as a team, right? Responding properly. The soft skills that are basically the ones that gives us the life skills to be part of a community, to be part of a company. And we are looking into how we can educate, our new generation in being part of that. As I was saying, chambers can play a very important role in organizations like these as unifiers, and it's bringing people to the table to have conversations, working with community organizations, working with business owners, working with the government. And it's an opportunity. It's not like, we have to. Leadership churn, that is, what I want to say here is that there's been a lot of turnover. So this is what we see, especially in companies, the CEO turnover. So you see it's going up the hill, and it's being much more difficult to find CEOs, to find people in leadership. And also what we need to ask ourselves is what are we doing to training the next generation? Some of the programs that chambers are doing to create global impact are, there are not many across the United States, but the DC Chamber of Commerce has this program that is called Export DC, that is to help companies locally go international. It is, in the United States, we have so much potential to export and to work internationally, and it's something that could be developed a little more. DC has this program for companies that are based here in the district, and some other, but very few chambers across the United States. The linchpin issues, there are a couple. So the first one is belonging and gathering. So when we look into organizations and chambers of commerce, we're looking for a place where we belong and we can gather. Either the Rotary Club or a chamber of commerce, but a place where we can be part of. Catalytic leadership, and that's something that we all here as leaders have to think about. What kind of leadership are we doing? Are we doing a transformational leadership? Are we judging, or are we really helping to transform our communities? And I want to share a little bit about the Chamber of Commerce. We just finished our strategic plan, and what we looked at is how we make our organization sustainable, and that's going to be the base of what we're thinking about, is how do we make our organization sustainable, make it to continue to be influential, to continue to be part of the conversation, and to continue to have the income. And the three pillars are our programs and membership, government relations, that is becoming the top issue across the United States for chambers of commerce, and marketing communications, make sure we share stories of our great companies, and having a great board of directors like we do, and a great staff. So this is our vision: to lead the Montgomery County business community as a catalyst for change, focused on driving policy, partnerships, and programs that ensure a prosperous future. Our mission is serving as a strong, sustainable, and compelling voice, partner, and representative for Montgomery County's economic growth by engaging across county, state, and federal stakeholders. Our chamber is unique because we do government relations at the local, at the state, and at the federal government when it comes to the government contracting piece. Our value proposition is we provide our members with a powerful platform for their growth and success that transcends the local economy by providing a resource for advocacy, membership experiences, and a sustainable organization that they can rely on to amplify the voice of business. We have our values. I wanted to share a little bit about what's happening across the country with chambers of commerce and membership organizations. This is the third chamber of commerce I run, and we can create an impact. If I'm gonna be able to change the funding for the bridge, maybe I will be able to influence, I will be able to be part of the conversation, but it has to be a group of people that comes together to make those changes. If I'm willing to lead, of course. If I'm willing to help, of course. If I'm willing to convene, of course. So that is, I just want to give you a sense of chambers of commerce, where we are, what we're thinking, what we're going through. And it's important that we keep supporting, because we want to see change. We want to be part of the conversation. We're working with our elected officials, but the more we see division, the worse it's gonna be for our communities. So anyway, with that, I'm gonna leave you. Please, let's open up the conversation. I think this is a fascinating subject. I'm passionate about it, as you can see. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
because in essence, I've had 4 businesses. Initially in Montgomery County, and then I moved out to Fairfax because of dealing with the government. 75 employees, never crossed my mind to have anything to do with the chamber. So how do you maintain relevance?
Yeah, I mean, what we have done and what we're doing is we're working closely with government, community organizations, and policy. And I think that is very important for an organization that have a lot of clarity on what the mission is and what the strategic plan is. So we are very clear that for us, our priority is government relations. And when we approach companies, that's gonna be the center of what we do. And sometimes, we have a lot of, in Montgomery County specifically, we have a lot of companies that have been in the county for a long time. And when you look at economic inclusiveness, I personally try to get people from different industries, different backgrounds, with, age difference, and that will get additional companies involved. But it takes also a company to, sometimes you'll have a government relations issue, and then where do you go? You go to your Chamber of Commerce to support you, and that's how we get a lot of our members.
Does the chamber feel like they have a say or a seat at the table as to what's happening to our city in terms of tariffs that are affecting everybody? Secondly, on what they're doing to our city and what's coming up with the Trump administration with the people in town. I have had people calling me saying, is everything okay? Are you okay in DC? I've been here 30 years. And everywhere, California, New Mexico, they call and they say, is everything really okay there? I mean, so that is really hurting our city. So it also, as you know, and so what are your restaurants saying and hotel businesses are saying? And do we have any kind of impact into the administration? The mayor doesn't seem to be able to do much, but she's certainly. I'm not saying anything bad about her, but I think that the chamber, the business people in DC are good business people, and I own an Airbnb, and I have had people cancel their reservations because they don't think it's safe to be in DC.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I can give you my personal opinion on that, I think. And I'm not at the DC Chamber anymore, but one of the things that is great about DC is that you have several organizations that are working to that. You have the Restaurant Association, the DC Chamber of Commerce. I feel like the city the mayor has a federal team that works with the federal government. And I feel like under the circumstances, the mayor is doing a great job in controlling what she can control. She cannot control that the federal government takes over. She cannot control that they're putting the National Guard here. So I think that under the circumstances, she's doing what she can at this point, and she has shared show. So, but it's hard when you're not in the district like you are, and people hear the news. I get calls about that too, and you hear the news. It's like, what's going on? What's happening? Regarding tariffs, I've had 2 or 3 meetings with my board and the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, and it's something that we have to see what happens. So it's not something that, we know specifically where that's going to end, but we have to wait and see what happens.
Let's talk about transportation. American Legion Bridge is a disaster. There's a lot of investment going on the Virginia side. They plan for the future, they invest in the future. On the Maryland side, specifically in Montgomery County, Maryland, there's a lack of vision with the Beltway. Could your Chamber of Commerce address that, and how? Yeah.
So we are very aware. We're very concerned, and the Montgomery County has gone through transitions on the economic development side, and we are getting together as a community exactly to do that. We're involved in transportation. I don't know if the American Legion Bridge, that's going to end, because it's going to require funding And then has been a lot of conversation on how that's going to be funded. And actually, yesterday I was having a conversation because Virginia is developing faster than we are. So we're getting a lot of traffic that is not, is not really helping where we need to be. What we think we need to do in Montgomery County is to set up a plan of where we're going to go. I don't know if in Montgomery County, 12 years ago, the Economic Development Corporation was part of the government. 12 years ago, became an individual institution. But still, you see that economic development is divided. So part is under the executive office, part is under the Economic Development Corporation, and that's part of the issue that the county is having right now. And in terms of transportation, we have a big coalition going on in terms of, doing the American Legion Bridge, where the chamber is not leading, but the chamber is partnering with the organization that is leading. That is a regional organization in transportation.
Do you track the time it takes over like this year versus last year versus the last 10 years, and the cost also in permit pulling for a variety of projects? It could be a simple adding a bathroom to an office building, or it could be something more complex. But in general, do you see the time and cost of pulling a permit in Montgomery County improving or getting worse, and why?
We're not tracking the time, but I know it's not getting better. And we are working with a group of developers and construction companies, and we're all very involved in making, not in making sure, but in making, creating policy that can help somehow. It's been challenging for a while, and Montgomery County has policies of no build in a lot of areas in the county. We're having a very difficult housing issue. Plus, they put an additional tax on energy, as you know, a couple of years ago. So it's a challenging time for development right now.
You have headed 3 different chambers, and particularly DC and Montgomery County. Can you talk about the differences between them? What sort of, key differences, key learnings have you taken from one chamber to another?
I can speak on details of every chamber, but what I can tell you is that a chamber of commerce or anybody can do anything unless we work as a team with a different community. So being at the table with a group of people that, want to help and want to make a difference is key. The district has a lot of organizations here. So the district has the Chamber of Commerce, has the Restaurant Association, Federal City Council, Board of Trade, Greater Washington Partnership, you name it. So there's a lot of organizations doing, in some cases, advocating for certain issues in different ways, and going after the same funding. So there's a lot of confusion on what's doing what organization to go to. Yeah. What I don't see in the city that could help is federal advocacy. I see that the mayor has an Office of Federal Affairs, but non-local organizations that serve the local community are doing federal advocacy. And I think, as I'm working now at Montgomery County, I think that would be a great plus for the district. The other thing that I saw in the district that was very interesting for me is how we have all the international community here, embassies, the multilateral organizations. We have the most important international nonprofits here, and we have the local community and the federal government, and sometimes they don't talk to each other. And I think it could be leveraged much better. Montgomery County, what I see is obviously we're in a state that is in the bottom 10 in economic development, and they're making investments, for example, in technology and then taxes in technology. So we're, it's just, we are much more dependent on the federal government, and the way the income is structured is in the county is very different from the district. So the way the chamber provided services was very different than DC. In DC, we had the chamber has a big partnership with economic development, because it was part of the government. So they leveraged the private sector or the private organizations to do some of that programming. In terms of industries, the district is very service driven. So is Montgomery County, and the larger companies that provide construction here are based in Montgomery County. The other thing is that DC doesn't have any headquarters here, not of the federal government, non-corporations. Montgomery County has HHS, NIH, FDA, Marriott, Sodexo, and has a very important corridor of life sciences. We have USP, the Pharmacopoeia, the 270, AstraZeneca, and some others that are based there. So those are big difference that I see from one place to the other. And DC is very influenced by the federal government, as we all know. Sometimes when people think of DC, they think of the White House, they think of the Smithsonian, not necessarily of Mayor Bowser and what we're doing here locally.
I'll save the best for last. Since I'm right next to you, all I have to do is pass the mic. Why is membership dues going down?
We've seen that trend all over the United States, and I personally believe that is very linked to value. So what is the value that you're giving to your members? Why they should belong to the chamber and not to another organization? And it comes down to that. And sometimes, I mean, I hear all the time, I heard it at the Hispanic chamber, I heard it at the DC chamber, I hear it now, it's like, why should I join? And there has to be some value, and value is individual for every person. You as an organization, I think you have to give the members a pathway. So for example, if they join, maybe joining a committee that can give them a place to belong, and then start doing events all the time that they can bring value. But I think it's very related to value, and it's like, well, I'm going to invest my money there. If I can go pay for an event and I don't have to get us involved. So everything is about, in my mind, it's all connected to value and the what the organization is doing to move the community forward.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? Wake up. You hear that? We got work to do. We got to convince people that there's value in this club. We never can stop doing that. These committees, it's time to get them full, get them active, and let folks know what you're doing. So that's what we're doing. That's just what we're doing. We got a great club. We got a mixture of talent. You can see we're very mosaic. I mean, it's on. And I'm glad you said that was one of your challenges, because that conveys to us too. So, Miss Franco, for such a lovely job, you're going to get a tree planted in your honor. Yes, down in the tidal basins. Yes. Yeah. As I would say, it's going to plant shade for those that you love. And then there are coordinates that are going to come with this tree, so you can find it among all the trees down there. Any last words to this marvelous group?
No, I just want to say something. I would encourage you to challenge your Chamber of Commerce like you have challenged me in terms of, measure your hours and whatever. I think it's important that you do. And we're always looking for ways to support the communities better. Obviously, a chamber or an organization like this is not going to be able to, you're not going to make everybody happy at all times, but you should absolutely challenge it and say, maybe think about doing this, or measure the hours, or look at this area that needs help. And it helps me be a better leader, and it helps me run a better organization. So I appreciate the time today. I was happy to be here, and thank you.